Get ready, little lady. Hell is coming to breakfast.
Shut the f*** up! Say Christ is Lord! Say Christ is Lord! Say it!
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Unpopular Opinion, and today we're going to be reviewing the 1976 Western film, The Outlaw Josey Wales. Josey Wales is a revisionist Western film starring and directed by Clint Eastwood, and it takes place during the American Civil War.
Texas is full of rebels. Lots of work to do down in Texas.
Now, this movie, it's a fan favorite among Western film fans or Clint Eastwood fans, but to the casual modern movie-going audience, well, it's not as well known and appreciated. So unfortunately, it's largely overshadowed by other movies in the genre, so your average person on the street probably hasn't heard of it. Now, in my opinion, I think this movie's a masterpiece, and it's one of the best Westerns ever made.
You a bounty hunter?
Yeah, he's got to do something for a living these days.
Dying ain't much of a living, boy.
It manages to take a sensitive topic and give it a likable protagonist that the audience could sympathize with and empathize with, and overall we just feel compassion for the guy. So overall, the movie's about a Missouri farmer named Josey Wales who takes up arms during the American Civil War to fight against the Union, and he fights for the Confederacy after Jayhawkers from Kansas brutally kill his family and burn his house down to the ground and leave him to die.
You'll find them up in Kansas. They're with the Union. We're going up there and set things right.
And as a result, he transforms from a simple farmer man to a machine of guerrilla warfare.
I'll be coming with you.
But when the Civil War ends, the men in Josey Wales' posse, they decide to surrender to the Union, but he himself refuses to surrender, and as a result becomes wanted.
Fletcher, I'm giving you a commission. Hound this Wales to kingdom come.
And then during the surrender, the Union and the American government, they betray these people. So the Missouri bushwhackers, they get massacred. And Josey Wales, he tries to save them, and he ends up killing like 50 American soldiers. So his former captain, Fletcher, once a friend and companion of Josey Wales, he's commissioned by a senator from Kansas, James Henry Lane, to track down Josey Wales and to find him, bring him to justice.
Because of what you did here today, I've got to kill that man.
He'll have to run for it now.
So Josey Wales, he flees across the country and he goes out west, and along the way he makes new friends and he forms a surrogate family with these people. So as he flees from his past and fleeing from the army, it kind of makes him find new purpose in life. He finds a new purpose and he slowly reconciles with his past. Now, right off the bat, one thing I love about this movie is it features an aspect of American history that usually doesn't get that much attention, because this aspect of the Civil War tends to be forgotten. It shows us how the Civil War affected people out west. Like, just thought experiment right now. Let's just think. What's the first thing you think of when you hear the Civil War? People usually think of Gettysburg, Vicksburg, the Peninsula Campaign, or Sherman's March to the Sea. But the Trans-Mississippi Theater is usually ignored by pop culture. And guys, the guerrilla fighting in Kansas and Missouri during the Civil War was brutal. In fact, it was so bad, it was like a civil war within the Civil War. So I'm glad that finally a major studio or a major motion picture finally sheds light or pays attention to an aspect of American history that at the very least is paid minimal attention to. So overall, I like how it showed the Civil War's effect on the frontier. Guys, another thing that makes this movie spectacular is our hero, Josey Wales. He's not like your normal typical Western hero. He's not really a cowboy, he's a Confederate soldier. And I also really like how this movie doesn't rely on stereotypes or cliches to portray the Southerners or the Confederacy during the Civil War. Like, overall, Josey's reasons for fighting for the Confederacy and taking up arms against the Union, it's very understandable. And you might not agree with what he did, but at the very least you could say, you know what, I understand. Now, make no mistake, I'm not advocating for treason, because treason is treason, but we all know why he did what he did. And some of us would probably do the same thing if our family and everything we knew was just taken away from us. Because let's look at the facts. The Union killed his family, burned his house down, everything he knew was gone. And then not for naught, he was permanently scarred. He got cut in the face by a sword. So when he's presented with an opportunity for revenge, he takes it. And then in the end, his men were betrayed by the government and just massacred. So his reasons aren't unjust. Again, you might not agree with it. I don't agree with it, but we understand where he's coming from. Now, in terms of Clint Eastwood, guys, it's a pretty interesting departure from his other Western hero characters because he normally plays nameless gunslingers or morally ambiguous characters. But Josey Wales isn't the same. We know who he is, we know his name, we know his past. Not only that, but we know his motives, and he's a well fleshed out character who we know very, very well. And his morality is never in question. I also love his style. I mean, look at the guy, he's so cool. His look, it's so badass, and the way he carries his 4 pistols and he wields them dual wield like a wizard, it's just phenomenal. Seriously, Josey Wales' skill with a pistol is unbelievable.
Watch me. I seen him do some things.
Shut up, lads.
And when you usually hear outlaws in a Western movie, you think, well, bank robber, bandit, cattle rustler, but no, Josey Wales doesn't fit that stereotype. I mean, Josey Wales is unique because he doesn't steal gold. He doesn't terrorize the town with a black hat. No, he's just a rebel who didn't surrender to the government, and he's very unique for that.
I'm looking for Josey Wales.
That'd be me.
You're wanted, Wales.
Which is just not usually seen in the Western genre, so it's another thing that Josey Wales has that makes it stand out among other Western films. Guys, I've been saying this a lot. Unique. I'm very sorry, but it's true. There's no other word to describe it. It's a unique movie, and how it unfolds is, I'm sorry, unique. The first quarter of the film, it's pure civil war. The movie starts in the countryside, in the plains, not really in cowboy territory. And then after his friend, the kid, dies, that's when the movie slowly starts to morph into a Western. And then at this point, Josey Wales teams up with a renegade Indian, and then they slowly make their way to Texas. And that's when you see the landscape start to transform. Because the landscape, it starts out as like the woods, woodland, hills, plains, forest, and then it starts to morph into more mountainous, and then desert, and then you're in the Wild West wilderness. I love that transition because it really shows the journey that our characters are going on. And then the slow transition from a Civil War period piece to a Wild West movie, guys, that was just brilliant. Guys, on top of that, the nature shots and the landscaping, just breathtaking, beautiful, beautiful country shots that I really love and really appreciate for this movie. Again, Westerns usually follow a typical formula, and this one doesn't. It doesn't have the cowboy going into a saloon or the good guy riding into a town with a white hat. Or it doesn't feature like, oh, there's bandits coming, I gotta protect the town. It's a journey to redemption from a damaged protagonist, both literally and physically damaged. Now, let's talk about our main villain and the opposition to Josey Wales. Our main villain is Captain Terrell.
Captain Redlegs, Terrell, and 5 men against Josey Wales.
We stopped those bushwhackers pretty good during the war, Fletcher.
He's an officer in the army, and he was also in the unit of Jayhawkers and Redlegs who killed Josey's family. He's not your typical Western villain. He's an army officer. His job is to hunt down and apprehend or kill people who haven't surrendered yet. So he's a Union soldier fighting rebels that haven't given up yet.
Doing right ain't got no end.
That's not really like something you think of when you hear villain in a Western. You just think, okay, well, the guy's a soldier fighting traitors. Adds a lot of different epic layers, a lot of nuance to the movie. So that means Captain Terrell's dedicated to catching Josey Wales and to bringing an end to secession. His goal is legit, but his reasons for doing it are so wrong. Because he killed Josey Wales' family and inadvertently created him. Overall, his hunt for Josey Wales causes a lot of great tension in the movie, and the stakes are really high.
You take 5 men and go up there and get Josey Wales.
I mean, just that look in the beginning of the movie when Fletcher says Josey Wales is still out there and Terrell's just like, he knows. He knows he has to face off against a worthy adversary.
He brought them all in, didn't he?
All but one, Josey Wales.
Josey Wales.
And guys, Josey Wales fighting off against army soldiers is beyond cool. At pretty much every turn of the movie, he runs into frontiersmen who want to collect the reward money on him and apprehend him or either kill him.
I got him. I got me Josey Wales.
So not only is he boxed in by a massive reward on his head, but he's also being pursued by the United States Army. Overall, quick draw duels in cowboy movies are stellar and epic, but Josey Wales facing off against trained American soldiers who literally just came out of a war, that's something else.
Why, you gonna pull those pistols and whistle Dixie?
I honestly can't think of any other movie where, in the West, our hero is facing off against trained soldiers as opposed to rogue cowboys. Which historically, outlaws facing off against federal troops was extremely rare. So it makes it cooler and it gives it a touch that other Western films don't have. Other great aspects of the movie, one such thing is Josey's entourage, his surrogate family that he meets, you know, his best friend, his partner, the rogue Indian Lone Waddy who he calls Chief. They become partners. Then they save Granny and Laura Lee. They make friends with people in this remote frontier town. And this forms another family for him. It adds great layers to a great movie. And then also overall, they didn't do the stereotypical portrayal of Indians in Western films. Like there's a lot of like stereotypes about Indians in Western movies, and this one didn't really fall upon that. So that's another thing I really appreciate about Josey Wales. So I think overall it was a fair portrayal of Indians, and then Josey Wales' powwow with 10 Bears was just so cool.
A powwow? Who told you to have a powwow? I didn't tell you to have a powwow.
Like they blood brothers cut their hand and they're shaking. That was awesome.
It shall be life.
Now let's talk about the action in this movie. Guys, the shootouts. Gunfights. It was all epic. The showdown with the Gatling gun was phenomenal.
How come you doing this then?
I got nothing better to do.
That pistol reverse was badass. That overall battle with the Comancheros was stellar.
Just get off the horse.
And obviously the ending showdown at the ranch was just one for the cinematic ages.
You're all alone now, Wales.
Not quite alone.
Because the ending, it's Josey Wales and his new family were battling it out with federal troops on their new ranch property. Their house was fortified with all these guns, and that was just so cool, man. The sound quality, the direction, the gunplay just made the viewing experience excellent. And then when Josey Wales chases after Captain Terrell and the final confrontation was just so intense. And it's very unlike other Western movie showdowns. What we have is like the hero having a face down, stare down standoff with the villain. And all the while, Josey Wales is just dry firing his pistols, slowly advancing upon Terrell. And he's got no ammo left, but he's just torturing the guy. It's psychologically torturing the captain. And he's just backing away like, this guy's gonna kill me, this guy's gonna kill me. And Josey's just moving closer with his guns. And then finally, when Josey puts away all his guns and they're just standing there, that's when they grapple and Josey overpowers the guy and impales him with his own sword. Which not only was that exciting, but it was like a roller coaster of emotions because you see the flashback in Josey Wales' mind and then Terrell's mind. Like they both know we were both there that day. We both know what happens. Whatever happens, this is the moment. It's going down. I can't think of another Western film where the hero and the villain, we've already established why these two people are unique for their types of characters in the movie, but their showdown, it wasn't like a draw or who can outdraw them. It's just, no, I'm gonna psychologically torture you and now we're both here. What now? It was a struggle with a sword. Genius. Guys, speaking of emotions, I'd say overall, this is a very tender and heartfelt movie. I've always said that Clint Eastwood is the epitome of masculinity and manliness. And I always say he's someone that every young boy and man should look up to as a masculine role model. But there are some moments in this movie of tender compassion that usually aren't common in Clint Eastwood movies. I mean, let's just look at the facts. In the first scene, after Josey Wales, he loses his family. He's crying and mourning them. Then we see the scene where they're battling it out with the Gatling gun and that kid confides in Josey that he's afraid to die. He expresses his concerns over his own mortality and Josey Wales shows concern for the kid.
I gotta tell you something. I'm scared of dying, Josie.
The emotional layers they added to the film and just gives it a lot of weight. You just see how the war affected this one man and it turned him into a battle-hardened veteran. And then I love the look that Wales gets after he finally administers revenge to the captain. There's that look of relief, and then there's that moment of reflection where he's like, it's finally over for me. Those brief looks on Clint Eastwood's face just speaks volumes. And anytime people say that Clint Eastwood can't really act, I defy them. Watch this scene and tell me otherwise. That takes a lot of required skill and acting talent to pull that off. And then the final scene was just an amazing moment. Finally, Fletcher finally catches up to Josey Wales. Josey's bloody and wounded from the battle, and his friends are vouching for him, calling him Mr. Wilson. But there's no fooling Fletcher. Fletcher knows it's Josey, but he pretends to be fooled, and he pretends like he doesn't know that this is Josey. He's like, oh, Mr. Wilson. So the two finally get a chance to reconcile, and then in a very stoic and manly way, they make peace with each other. The moment between two men, two former friends, two former veterans, battle buddies, where they finally reach the end of their journey, and all while the amazing, heartfelt music is being played.
He's got the first move. I owe him that. I think I'll try to tell him the war is over.
This is probably the greatest example of manly stoic compassion. No crying, no sentimental speeches, just two men calmly making their peace and saying their final farewells.
I guess we all died a little in that damn war.
This is truly one of the greatest endings to a Western film. So overall, the ending was truly amazing, and Josey Wales, our damaged protagonist, has finally made it. He survived and he found his redemption. He gets his redemption in his journey for freedom and for forgiveness. Not only is this one of the best Western films, but I think it's one of the best Civil War movies. Now, to be honest, this is off scripted. I was thinking about wearing my Civil War uniform, but I thought, nah, it wouldn't be fitting considering Josey's Confederate. This is a Union, so either way, I still think this is a truly legit Civil War film, and I think it's one of the best Civil War films. Not only is it one of the best Westerns, but it's one of the best Civil War movies. It's much more than a Wild West film. It's about the American experience and the suffering caused by the most devastating war to have ever hit the American country, the American homeland. So that's all I have for you, Josey Wales. It's a masterpiece and one of the greatest Westerns ever made. Well, guys, what do you think? Comment below to let me know. What's your favorite Western movie? What do you think about Josey Wales? Honestly, what's your favorite Civil War movie? What's your favorite Clint Eastwood movie? Guys, comment that below. Guys, remember to like this video, subscribe. Also, check me out on Instagram. That will be linked in the description below. I have a second YouTube channel, Unboxing with Bob Phillips, where I open packages in the mail, build Legos, review board games, collectibles. Guys, check that out. That'll also be linked below. I think you'll really enjoy that. I also made a video, my top 5 favorite Clint Eastwood movies. I ranked The Man with No Name movies. Check that out, all linked below. But anyway, guys, I'll see you on the next Unpopular Opinion.